I'm Dan from PIKO-America, and while Pico is well known for making lots of these big beautiful building kits for G-scale, I'm actually here to talk to you about some of these. Pico also makes lots of HO and in-scale building kits, and the hobby line in particular, the one that I'm going to show you how to make today, is quite an economical product. You'll find it's quite easy to put together one of these Pico building kits. You'll need a Pico building kit, which this is the Etika Shops, one of my favorites. A bottle of Pico Fix, which is a great glue with a needle tip applicator to help you get nice detailed work. You'll need a hobby knife to help cut up the sprues, and I like to use a really cheap throwaway cutting board. That'll help save your table when you make a few cuts. That's about it. We're going to show you how to do it now. After opening the box, you should see the instruction sheet. Since we want to be able to use this information, I like to place it in a spot where I can see it while I'm building. After that, you can remove the window and buildings or shop decorations and the window glazing. It has plenty. All of our kits come with signs that come in English as well as other languages. With these, you can make it look like the image, or you can easily make it into a corner market, a flower shop, a small hardware store, or plenty of other things. You can see that I jumped ahead of the instructions and removed some sprues from the base plate. Then I moved them out of the way for later. As we move on to the main building wall panels, we can offer a tip. If your piece does not easily cut off the sprue, you can always cut it a few times, or called scoring it. Or if you have a larger hobby knife, you can use it to free the larger pieces. Just to be safe, I did the scoring on these pieces before cutting all the way through the sprue. Sometimes it makes a cleaner cut. One thing you'll notice with Pico buildings is that careful attention was paid to where the parts connect with the sprue. Because Pico put all of this thought into the process, you won't need to spend hours and hours filing down sprue joints. In fact, you'll see that I don't even use a file on this kit. After the wall panels are removed from the sprue, we remove the window panes from their sprues. No filing is needed on these parts at all, as the sprue joint will not be visible when the kit is finished. After removing the windows and doors from the sprue, you can easily look to see where they will sit. Note that you'll have a few choices for which door you would like to choose. Once you've chosen your door and window options, you're ready to use some glue. Using the needle tip applicator on your Pico Fix glue, you can easily place glue exactly where you want it on the edges of the doors and windows. Some people choose to put glue on the larger window frames to keep from getting glue where they don't want it. I do that coming up shortly. By repeating the process for each item, you easily finish each sidewall. Then you can cut the window glazing to have your windows and give them that look of real glass. There are numerous ways to cut window glazing, but in order to keep from getting glue on the window portion, and because we have more than enough window glazing in this kit, I prefer to save time and cut larger pieces. You'll repeat this process of placing windows, doors, and glazing through steps 1 through 7. Once done with these steps, you'll have all the wall panels ready for final assembly. When applying the window glazing, make sure to place it carefully so you don't end up with glue showing through the windows. Take your time to place it properly so you don't have to position it later. As we move on to steps 3 and 4, it's more of the same process. Even though we've sped up the process, you'll notice that I'm always using a napkin or paper towel to clean up the needle tip. By making sure the glue is upright and keeping the tip empty of glue like this, you can make sure you don't lose your glue to a clogged applicator tip. We slow down here to show you. That funny sound you hear is a slight squeeze on the bottle when it's upright, and you can hear the air escaping. That lets me know the tip is clear of glue. The second gluing method for the windows is shown here, and it can be useful if you're worried about making a mess. Basically, since the window panels are on the inside of the building, you can glue the larger inside panels together. This could keep you from having spots of glue on the outside of the building. And here at step 4, after choosing which door I wanted, I go to the detailed gluing option, and then I follow that with the interior gluing option. Doing both can make the structure stronger, just like making multiple passes with glue can weld or fuse the seams together, but more on that later. And using the power of speeding the video up, you can see that I follow the same general techniques when completing steps 5, 6, and 7. By the time we get to the end of step 7, we're ready to stand the walls up and start gluing the larger framing pieces together. Using the base plate, we can now start to place the walls. The walls are precisely molded to give you a very tight and accurate joint. No matter how you like to get the glue to set, at this stage, you're really going to want to be patient and take your time. Once the wall panels are placed together, you'll need to hold them in place until they're secure and the glue is set enough for you to move on. To make the structure stronger, I recommend going over the inside wall joints using your Pico fix to truly fuse those side walls together. Then you can glue the side walls down to the base plate and hold it for a bit so that you have a nice strong structure. The second half of step 8 is placing the secondary portion of the buildings in place. You could call it the add-on or the back storeroom. Here, while gluing the edges together, is where the needle tip applicator of Pico Fix comes in very handy. Making sure not to get glue on the outside walls, you can make sure this portion of the building stays secure. And then make sure to glue the walls to the base plate inside. Because once the roof is on, there's no way to get inside the building for later edits. Again, you can score any sprue cuts first to make it easier to cut, as well as make precise cuts. Clean up any cuts before you apply your Pico Fix glue. When it comes to the roof, I like to be careful with glue as any mistakes here can be pretty easy to spot. Though it may be possible to hide them later, I like the option of not having to if I can. For this reason, I go pretty light on the glue at first, and then I add more later if I feel it's necessary. You can make minor adjustments if you're careful, and again, be prepared to hold the larger pieces in place as the glue sets. Gluing a final few seams on the roof can help increase its strength. After that, we're ready to move on to the last step, placing the last little portion of the roof and the walls on. A few more cuts on sprues and we're ready to finish this building kit. Remember that extra glue on the roof is usually more noticeable than on the walls, so take your time. Getting the roof details on is pretty easy, as these vents or roof chimneys can be secured from inside later on. Then, gluing the extra roof gable or dormer together is pretty straightforward. Of course, I hadn't cut the last parts from the sprue, but it gave the roof time to set. Then, making sure to get enough glue inside while keeping it off the visible portion of the roof, I placed the pieces for the dormer room area onto the model. After that, we add the tiny shop sign, and I can double check the inside walls and roof seams to make sure they're strong and set. Then, placing the staircases for the entrance doors completes this model. And there you have it, a great looking and economical building for your HO scale layout. Thanks for watching and have fun with your Pico trains, buildings, and track.